They cut their cost of living from $7,800 a month to $1,650. They saved $151,000 in 3 years. They retired 14 years early. But David's mother died while they were 3,000 miles away in a van in Guatemala, and he got there 8 hours too late. If bold decisions and their unexpected consequences fascinate you, subscribe now, because this story goes places most van life videos won't. David and Rachel Bennett, Seattle, Washington. David, 38, software engineer, $95,000 a year. Rachel, 37, UX designer, $60,000 annually. Combined, $155,000. In most of America, that's wealthy. In Seattle, it meant a 2-bedroom apartment, $3,200 a month. Not nice, just available. 800 square feet, paper-thin walls, neighbors they could hear breathing. Add parking, $250 each equals $500. Utilities, $280. Renter's insurance, $85. Total housing, $4,065 per month. 2 cars because Seattle Transit is a joke. Payments, $720 combined. Insurance, $340. Gas, parking, maintenance, $420. Total transportation, $1,480 per month. Then groceries, $850. Student loans, $680. Health insurance, $485. Everything else, $1,240. Monthly expenses, $7,800. They save $2,100 per month. Sounds good until you do the math. At that rate, to reach financial independence, $1.5 million needed at their burn rate, 18 years. David would be 56. Rachel, 55. Will retire young, they use a joke. Young meaning eligible for ARP. David started having panic attacks on Sunday nights. Not because work was terrible, because he realized this was it. This was a life. $95,000 a year, living in 800 square feet, saving $25,000 annually for 18 more years. Rachel told her therapist, "I feel like we're running on a treadmill set to the exact speed where we can't quite catch our breath but also can't fall off." The therapist nodded. That's called the middle class in Seattle. They had good jobs, good salaries, good benefits, and absolutely no path to freedom before their 50s. Seattle was a beautiful, expensive cage. The breaking point was a spreadsheet, not a health scare, not a dramatic moment. A spreadsheet. David had been lurking in fire forums for 2 years, reading about geographic arbitrage. People retiring to Portugal, Thailand, Costa Rica. But those places had gotten expensive. Costa Rica now, $2,500 to $3,000 per month minimum. Portugal, $2,800 to $3,500 per month. Thailand, $2,000 to $2,800 per month. Better than Seattle, but not revolutionary. Then he found a thread about Guatemala. Living in Lake Atitlan region, Guatemala. Full expenses including van, food, everything. $1,200 per month. Been here 14 months. AMA. David read every comment. Screenshots everything. Showed Rachel at 11 p.m. Guatemala, she said. Isn't that dangerous? Less dangerous than working until we're 56, David said. They researched for 3 months. Obsessively. Guatemala average cost of living for expats, $1,200 to $1,800 per month. Costa Rica, $2,500 to $3,000 per month. The difference, $1,200 per month equals $14,400 per year. Over 10 years, $144,000. But there was a catch. Guatemala wasn't Pura Vida paradise tourist infrastructure. It was rough roads, less English spoken, basic health care, real risks. They watch 47 Van Life Guatemala videos, read 200-plus blog posts, joined 8 Facebook groups. The pattern was clear. People who went to Guatemala fell into 2 camps. Best decision ever, so cheap, so authentic. Lasted 6 weeks, too hard, went to Costa Rica. Here's the math, David said. We sell everything except what fits in a van. Cars, furniture, everything, maybe $30,000. Our savings, $48,000. Total, $78,000. Buy a good 4x4 van, $52,000. Convert for off-road plus all season, $18,000. We have $8,000 left for visas, gear, cushion. Rachel stared at him. $8,000 cushion? That's insane. What's insane is spending $7,800 a month to live in Seattle for 18 more years. Long pause. If we do this, Rachel said, we do it right. Research everything. Plan for failures. And if it doesn't work in 6 months, we come back. No shame. David nodded. 6-month trial. Deal. They spent the next 3 months negotiating remote freelance contracts, both quit FT jobs. Buying 2018 Sprinter 4x4, $52,000, used but solid. DIY conversion for Guatemala conditions, reinforced suspension, all-terrain tires, extra water storage, off-grid solar. Selling everything, and telling no one except parents. David's mom, Guatemala? That's where people get kidnapped. Rachel's dad, you're making a mistake. Both of you have good jobs. They went anyway. May 15th, they handed keys to their Seattle apartment, loaded the last bag into the van. Bank balance, $8,240. Everything they own in the world, inside a 170-square-foot van, and they drove south for 1,200 miles, through U.S., Mexico, 3 Central American countries. It took 23 days. Mexico border, 6 hours of bureaucracy, van temporary import permit. For $100 they didn't budget. Belize border, denied entry visa issue. Had to backtrack to Mexico, get correct paperwork. Cost, $380 extra plus 2 days lost. El Salvador, van inspected for 3 hours. Randomly asked for $150, processing fee. Paid it, kept moving. The roads in Guatemala, worse than anything they'd researched. Potholes that could swallow a tire. Sections of highway that were just dirt. Switchbacks on mountain roads with no guardrails. Day 3 in Guatemala. Suspension failed. They hit a pothole outside Antigua. Towed a mechanic, $180. Repair, $840. Their cushion, now $6,220. They sat in a $12 per night hostel room. Rachel cried, "We've been here 3 days and spent $1,000 we didn't have." David, "We can still go back." Rachel, "We sold everything. There's nothing to go back to." They kept going. Drove to Lake Atitlan, the region they'd researched. Volcanic lake, 3 volcanoes surrounding it, villages around the shore. Expat community in certain towns. It was beautiful. It was also completely foreign. Barely any English. Infrastructure they didn't understand. And they had $6,000 left to figure it out. Month 1, panic. They parked in public lot in Panajackal, main tourist town. Cost, $15 per day. Unsustainable. Tried free camping. Locals told them not safe. Tried beach parking. Asked to leave. Finally found private property owner who let them park. $120 per month. Secure, with bathroom access. But other problems emerged. Internet. Seattle. Gigabit fiber. $80 per month perfect. Guatemala Lakeside. Inconsistent cellular. Drop calls. Can't do client video meetings. They had to buy satellite internet setup. $180 per month. 3 times their budget. But without it, no freelance income. Month 2, sickness. Rachel got severe diarrhea. Lasted 3 weeks. Local doctor, who spoke broken English. Water parasite, very common. Medication, $40. But she lost 12 pounds. Couldn't work for 10 days. Lost a client. Month 3, suspension failed again. Different issue. Guatemala roads were destroying their van. Repair, $1,240. Their cushion, now $3,100. Month 4, Wi-Fi and van still insufficient. Had to work from cafes. For the $6 per day for coffee plus workspace. $150 per month unplanned. But it worked. Clients didn't know they were in van in Guatemala. Just knew work got done. Month 5, Rachel's breaking point. I haven't had a real conversation in English in weeks. Our entire life is this van, random cafes, and broken Spanish. I'm lonely. I'm sick of being sick. I want to go home. David, where's home? We don't have one. Wrong thing to say. They didn't speak for 2 days. In 170 square feet. Month 1 to 5 expenses. Parking, $120 per month planned. Satellite internet, $180 per month unplanned. Food, $520 per month, higher than planned. Eating out more due to stress. Van repairs, $2,080 total, way over. Medical, $340, parasites, meds. Cafes for work, $150 per month. Miscellaneous, $280 per month. Average monthly, $2,140. They budgeted $1,500. They were bleeding money. Month 6 bank balance, $1,850. Started with $8,240. 6 months later, almost broke. Freelance income was coming in $2,800 per month combined, but barely covering expenses. They weren't saving. They were surviving. We need to make a decision, Rachel said. 6 months is almost up. We said we'd reevaluate. David, the math isn't working. Rachel, because Guatemala is harder than we thought. David, maybe we should try Costa Rica. More infrastructure. Rachel, more expensive. We can't afford it. They spent a week researching. Go back to U.S.? Humiliating but stable. Move to Costa Rica? Easier, but $1,000 per month more expensive. Stay in Guatemala but change approach? Unknown. Month 7, dengue fever. Both of them. High fever, body aches, fatigue. Lasted 8 days. Guatemalan hospital experience. Traumatic. Basic care, language barrier, fear. Cost, $680 total. But they survived. And something shifted. Rachel, week after dengue. I just survived dengue in Guatemala. If we can survive that, maybe we can figure out the rest. Month 8, the turn. They met Marcus and Sophia. Canadian couple, late 40s. Living in van in Guatemala for 18 months. First 8 months almost killed us too, Marcus said. Then we figured out the system. He showed them. Different parking spot network. $80 per month, safer, better location. Community Wi-Fi co-op, $25 per month stable, share with 6 other digital nomads, which mechanics to trust, fair prices. Water purification system that actually works, $120 one time. Prevents parasites, which local doctors speak English and are competent where to buy groceries that don't make you sick. Guatemala isn't Costa Rica, Sophia said. It's harder, rougher, cheaper, but if you learn the systems, it's sustainable. We spend $1,100 per month total and save $3,000. David and Rachel went back to their van, recalculated everything with new information, new monthly budget, parking, $80 new spot, internet, $25 co-op, food, $380, cooking more, shopping smarter, van maintenance fund, $200, health insurance, $180, international plan, they've been skipping, cafes, $0, co-op Wi-Fi works, miscellaneous, $185, phone, $40, total, $1,090 per month. They've been spending $2,140. New system, $1,090. If they could make $2,800 per month freelance, that's $1,710 per month saved. $20,520 per year. The math finally worked. but it had taken 8 months of hell to find it. Month 18. Things were working. New parking spot. Stable, safe, $80 per month. Wi-Fi co-op, reliable for client work. Freelance income, $3,200 per month average. Monthly expenses, $1,150, slight lifestyle inflation but controlled. Monthly savings, $2,050. In 10 months since the turn, they'd saved $20,500. Add to what little remained from first 8 months. Portfolio, $24,300. Not where they wanted to be, but growing. Finally, February 12th, Tuesday. David was working on client project. Rachel was at local cafe for change of scenery. Phone rang. His brother. 9 a.m. Seattle time equals 7 a.m. Guatemala. Unusual. Mom had a stroke. What? When? 2 hours ago. They're doing surgery now. You need to come home. David's brain calculating. Guatemala City, 3-hour drive. Flight Guatemala City, Houston, Seattle. Earliest arrival, 36 hours from now. Rachel got back. They threw clothes and backpack. Van couldn't come, no time. Asked Marcus to watch it. Drove to Guatemala City in van. Parked at airport long term. Paid cash for next available flight. $1,840 for both. Their emergency fund, destroyed in one purchase. Guatemala City, Houston, 4 hours. Layover, 3 hours. Houston, Seattle, 4 hours. Immigration, baggage, Uber to hospital. Total elapsed time from phone call to hospital, 34 hours. David got to ICU. Brother in waiting room. Face said everything. 8 hours ago, his brother said quietly, "You were in Houston." His mother had died while he was at 35,000 feet. He'd been 3,000 miles away, living in a van, saving $2,000 a month. And he wasn't there. The funeral was 4 days later. They stayed in Seattle for 2 weeks, in David's childhood home, where his mother would never be again. His aunt, if you'd been here, she didn't finish. Didn't have to. Rachel's parents, who'd flown in to support. Maybe it's time to come home. Friends they hadn't seen in 18 months. Guatemala? Still? After this? David to Rachel, 2 a.m. She died thinking I abandoned her. For what? To save money? To live in a van. Rachel, she knew you loved her. David, but I wasn't there. They flew back to Guatemala, to the van, to the life they'd built. For $1,280 spent, flights plus funeral expenses plus 2 weeks in U.S. Their savings, back down to $20,000. But the financial cost wasn't the point. Month 19. David couldn't work for 3 weeks. Depression hit hard. Rachel handled clients alone. Income dropped to $1,800 per month. Expenses stayed at $1,150. They saved $650 that month. Technically still moving forward. But David was broken. Maybe we should go back, Rachel said. To what? David said. Seattle rent? Working until we're 56? That doesn't bring her back. But being here isn't helping you. Neither would being there. Months 20 to 24. David started therapy via telehealth. $180 per month, added to expenses. Talked through guilt. Talked through loss. Talked through the question, did I make the wrong choice? Therapist, would you have made it to the hospital in time if you lived in Seattle? David, maybe, probably. Therapist, would she have wanted you to give up your freedom out of guilt? David, no. Therapist, then the question isn't whether you made the wrong choice. It's whether you can live with the choice you made. He couldn't change it. Being in Guatemala didn't cause the stroke, but it meant he wasn't there. And that would be true forever. They didn't go back to Seattle. They didn't quit Guatemala. They adjusted. Year 3, they changed the system. For months, Guatemala, cheapest, dry season November, February. 2 months U.S., expensive but necessary, base in Seattle area. Stay with friends/family. Park van at storage. 2 months Mexico, middle cost March, April. For months Guatemala again, May, August. Rainy season, but they'd learned to handle it. Annual expenses breakdown. Guatemala 8 months times $1,150 equals $9,200. U.S. 2 months times $3,800 equals $7,600. Staying with others, contributing higher food/gas. Mexico 2 months times $1,900 equals $3,800. Total annual, $20,600. Monthly average, $1,717. Still dramatically less than Seattle's $7,800. They also shifted freelance approach. Instead of $2,800 to $3,200 per month unstable, built retainer clients. Steady $4,200 per month combined, 20 hours per week each. Enough to live plus save. Not enough to burn out. Those 2 months in U.S. were everything. David saw his dad 3x/week. Rachel reconnected with siblings. They attended friends' wedding they would have missed. Were there for nephew's graduation. Year 3 savings. Income. For $1,200 per month times 12 equals $50,400. Expenses. $20,600 per year. Saved. $29,800. Add year 2 post-recovery. Savings. $18,200. Total saved since month 18. $48,000. Add to surviving balance from funeral expenses. $20,000. Portfolio, $68,000. Plus investment returns, $9,400. Total, $77,400. Now, month 36. David is 41. Rachel is 40. They live in a van 10 months/year. Work 20 hours per week. Spend time with family 2 months/year. Save $30,000 per year. David visits his mother's grave every time they're in Seattle. Brings flowers. Sits for an hour. Tells her about Guatemala. About the lake. About the life. He doesn't know if she'd be proud. Or disappointed. Maybe both. Rachel's journal, year 3. We saved $77,000. We're on track to retire at 42. Guatemala taught us we're tougher than we thought. David's mom dying taught us we're more fragile than we knew. Both are true. They have financial independence within reach. They have geographic freedom. They have time. What they don't have, those 8 hours. The funeral they spent $4,000 to attend. The comfort that everything they sacrificed was worth it. Are they happy? Sometimes. Are they free? Financially, yes. Emotionally, it's complicated. Would they do it again, knowing what they know? That's the question they don't answer. David and Rachel cut their expenses from $7,800 to $1,717 a month. They saved $77,000 in 3 years. They're on track to retire at 42 instead of 56. The math worked. Guatemala worked. The van worked. But David's mother died 3,000 miles away, and no amount of savings changes that. This isn't a story about whether van life is worth it, or whether Guatemala is better than Costa Rica, or whether geographic arbitrage works. It does. All of it works. This is a story about what you can't predict. You can predict costs. You can predict savings rates. You can predict retirement timelines. You cannot predict when your mother will have a stroke, how guilt will feel, whether freedom and loss can coexist. David and Rachel are free, financially independent in 2 years, living on their terms. But freedom came with a price tag that wasn't in the spreadsheet, being 34 hours away when it mattered most. The lesson isn't, don't take the leap, or geographic arbitrage isn't worth it. The lesson is, every leap toward something is a leap away from something else. And sometimes, what you leap away from calls you back. In a moment, at 7 a.m., when you're 3,000 miles away, David and Rachel chose freedom. They got it, but freedom doesn't mean escape. From loss, from guilt, from the cost of distance. They're still in Guatemala, still in the van, still saving, still free, and still carrying what they couldn't save. They saved $77,000 in 3 years living in a van in Guatemala. But David's mother died while they were 34 hours away. Both of those things are true. Both of those things matter. If this kind of honest exploration of bold decisions resonates with you, subscribe. Because most van life videos won't tell you this part. The part where the math works. And it still costs everything.